In his book, A Hidden Wholeness, The Journey Toward an Undivided Life, Parker Palmer speaks about soul truth. He says, soul truth is so powerful that we must invite, not command, the soul to speak. We must allow, not force, ourselves to listen. The soul truth of Jesus' message today is powerful. Jesus invites us to listen deeply to our inner convictions, and out of that listening, make choices that allow us to grow into our best and truest self. As we know, this listening and growing is not a static process that's once and we're done. Rather, it is an ongoing, constantly evolving, dynamic process that invites our soul to grow. Our unfolding story must navigate the complexities of life in our families, our places of work or school, neighborhood and faith communities, and the public sphere. Over the next few minutes, I invite us to reflect on this message of becoming our truest and best selves through a couple of examples. The first illustration is from a story published recently in the Philadelphia Inquirer about former Penn State football player Adam Taliaferro. 20 years ago, next month, Adam sustained a life-changing, catastrophic spinal cord injury after a tackle he made during a game at Ohio State University. He underwent emergency surgery where the surgeons had to rebuild his spinal column, began the rehabilitation process, and was told by doctors there was a 3% chance he would ever walk again. Taliaferro defied the long odds with a persevering spirit, an arduous rehab, and strong family support. A year later, he jogged onto the field as he led the Penn State football team out for their home opener. And then he kept on walking through life. With his dream of becoming a professional football player crushed, Taliaferro acknowledged he harbored some bitterness after the injury, saying, "For the first 5 years after the injury, I was like, why me? Why did this happen to me?" Yet his soul began to listen to other ways of becoming who he was. Adam continued his education, earning his bachelor's degree from Penn State and his law degree from Rutgers-Camden. He became a pharmaceutical representative, married and has 2 children, and serves as a New Jersey State Assemblyman. He also visits patients rehabbing from spinal cord injuries and is a source of hope and inspiration to them. Over the years, Adam has listened deeply to his soul truth and continues to grow and live into his true self. In his words, "I really believe the injury was horrible, but everything that came out of it was a blessing. It took my injury for me to really see the good in people. When you have a therapist you never met working so hard to help you through the toughest of times, it inspires you to do more." Adam Taliaferro is still writing his unfolding story. He has walked onto paths he never dreamed he would follow, paths that invite him more deeply into his very self and allow him to listen to his soul. Paths that serve and inspire others and have brought him to say, I'm at peace. Perhaps each of us can reflect on our own lives. What experiences and circumstances have changed our life trajectory? What soul truth is God inviting us to listen to and live into because of them? The second example is a brief personal story related to a leadership position in the eastern region of Roman Catholic women priests. This past April, an election for the regional administrator was held. And prior to that, people were placing names in nomination. This role was not one that I even considered or felt called to at that time. So when a couple sister priests asked to nominate me, I thanked them, but politely declined. Then a third one approached me, and the way she phrased her thoughts caught my attention. Something stirred in my soul, and I knew I had to look at this more closely. I had some questions and concerns, but after speaking with a couple people, these obstacles were cleared away. I felt my heart open and then entered an intense discernment process of prayer and conversation with my spiritual director and a couple wisdom people in my life. It soon became clear that God was calling me to accept the nomination and allow the election to unfold as the Spirit wished. This was a moment of soul truth. God invited me into the truth 3 times, and I finally allowed myself to listen. I tried to push the call away, but ultimately needed to bring it close, discern carefully, and finally accept it. The region called me to be their administrator, and now 2 months into this joyful yet challenging position, I find myself writing a new chapter of growing into my truest self. I want to emphasize that our truest self is constantly evolving and changing. And living into this is a lifelong process that never stops. We cannot become comfortable with who we are because God is always calling us to a deeper searching. This was true in both of the examples I shared and is true for all of us in our own life circumstances. Whether a personal decision, something in our family or the larger community, a November election issue, or a work challenge, God is always drawing us to our deepest self. This week, take time to listen to how God is calling you to take a closer look and become more fully who you are. As Parker Palmer says, soul truth is powerful. Listen to that soul invitation and grow into your truest self.